Hello, everyone. Drop some emojis in the comments if you are here and if you can hear and see me. Let's move the microphone a little bit closer. There we go. Maybe make the sound a bit better. Just wait and see. Anybody, don't mute me. Can anyone hear me? Anyone see me? Hello, hello, hello. We've got some people. Good. So we are planning the week of the 22nd of June using this July mystery kit from Strawberryland Designs. Yeah, this is quite an old kit. I've not bought from Strawberryland Designs in ages, and it's not because I don't love her stickers. It's because I've been trying to use my stash, and I really want to go and shop Beth's shop because I absolutely adore her stickers. So it's a bit of a shame that I haven't been using them. I've got the glitter headers. She now does a glitter add-on like Anna does. I've got paint swatches and stuff. Yeah, it's a really old kit. Like, I think she stopped doing mystery kits. Oh, I think it was last year, but it might have even been the year before. I've got hexagons, I've got circles, various layering things from my shop. Then I've got oops overlays from my shop. As you can see, these ones are super oops. And I just claimed this happened to 2 sheets, and I claimed both of them because why not? And then I've got hollow headers as well. Then I've got some flags, date dots, etc. Yeah, that's what we are working with. I don't feel like I can plan quickly without mentioning what's going on in the planner community really quickly. And just to say that I definitely am not supporting Erin Condren anymore. For the moment, unless I see some real change in the company. I will still be using my planners, but that is the last time I will mention what planner I am using. I will have a video in more detail, which will basically be what I posted on Instagram and in my Facebook group on Wednesday, just explaining that over here. So that's all I'm going to say on that. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to leave it as that, but just know I'm not okay with what she did. So that's all of that. Hello everyone, how are you all? So I've just popped date dots down on my date covers. How is everybody? Are you having a good weekend? What are your plans? Obviously tomorrow is Father's Day, which some people will be excited about, other people will be a hard day for them. What are you doing, anything particularly? I don't know whether my dad's watching the stream, so I don't feel like I can say what we're doing because it's a surprise. Because he has watched the stream before, but I'm not sure whether he's here or not. But we have some plans. That's all I'm really going to say. Obviously, I live with my dad at the moment. Oh, that's the other exciting news, that if you don't follow me, to be fair, you might not even know that I'd sort of started looking for a house. But me and my boyfriend decided to basically, he got a job for next year not very long ago. And because we knew where he was going to be, we'd started like vaguely talking about buying a house and like moving and where we wanted to live. And then basically we saw and fell in love with a house. So we then decided to actually like start going through the process and start going through the process and get an agreement in principle, see what we could afford, how much we could afford to spend on a house. Did like a mock budget, not a mock budget, it's like a real budget, but like some of it's guesstimation because we have no idea how much, like we've got an idea of how much bills will be, but not like a concrete idea of how much bills are going to be. So did that, worked out how much we thought we could afford to pay for a mortgage, and then started looking at the sort of house we want, basically. What I didn't pull out is I didn't pull out a quote box because I feel like this kit needs a quote box, so we'll choose one of those in a few minutes. So then we started looking at houses. The house that we actually fell in love with sold before we managed to see it, which was sad. But we then went and looked at some other houses and actually found a house that I think we probably prefer. Is that fair?
Yeah, we probably prefer it.
It's hard to say because obviously we didn't see the other house.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so on Tuesday, we popped multiple offers in. We've spent Tuesday going back and forth with an estate agent. Sorry, I just whacked my camera with the head. I was like, what am I hit my head on? And I was like, oh, it's the camera. Went back and forth with the estate agent all day. Tuesday, and eventually got an offer accepted. So that's my exciting news. I will obviously talk a little bit more about it. Yeah, in my video tomorrow, but I'm just going to catch up on the comments. Curling up with your cat to watch the stream is the best. Jack hasn't made an appearance yet, but you know what he's like. He may well appear at some point. Yeah, I think Father's Day can be really, really mixed for people. I'm really sorry to hear about your dad, Heather. The first ones are quite often the hardest, and it is really horrid, I'm sure. I'm really sorry to hear that. It's a bit rubbish, really. Not a bit rubbish, it's really rubbish, really. It's my brother-in-law's first Father's Day as well, so that's nice for him. So looking forward to spending. We have a family Zoom call always on Sundays, so looking forward to wishing him his first Father's Day. I need my June sticker, which I actually remembered to pull out this time. It's the sticker I always forget, and I actually remember this time. Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, I found the planning community is really, really supportive during hard times. They're absolutely fantastic when you're struggling or when you need a bit of help. I don't know how many of you know, but I first properly fell into planning when I was really ill with my mental health 3 years ago. And planning and the planner community definitely helped me get better. So I completely understand that. They really do. People say planner friends make the best friends, and I don't think a lot of people understand what people mean by that, but it's 100% true. We are using this Slytherin washi tape from Simply Gilded to pair with this kit, by the way, just because I thought it was a nice mix of greens like the kit. This is technically an oops, but I don't really know why it's an oops wrong. That was some really bad cutting on my behalf. I'm using a smartwatch, so now when I get a message, I can properly read it. We're returning this one. Basically, it's been a week of trying different smartwatches. Oh, I know. Why are you not starting your dream job, Hetty? That's really sad. You were so excited for that. What is it? Oh, don't worry about that, Heather. To be honest, it's not been the best week for me in a lot of ways. So there's been other things that have made my house news feel less exciting, but that's fine. It's only the first step of getting the house. It'll be more exciting later down the line. Yeah, what's happened with your job, Hetty? I know you were super excited about that because you're starting at Zoo, is that right? And honestly, Heather, don't worry about it. I never want people to feel they can't share things in this group, this community, because of somebody else. I would rather people shared what they want to share, and yeah. Right. I want a full box overlay, sweetie. In that box, there's a blue floral album. It's in the second lot. It's chunky. No, not that one. In the second row, like the middle row. Just trying to get my foil. Which of these do we reckon a overlay would look best on? I'm thinking one of these two. Yes, that one. So yeah, I can. It's a really hard time to own a small business that requires people to, particularly one that requires people to go into. I can appreciate that they are struggling with that, but also it's really crappy for you, and I'm really sorry. In fact, because we're talking about this, let's just use a Planner Friends Makes the Best Friends quote box, because that is what we're talking about and it seemed very appropriate. Yeah, no, you can't just sit around and wait for a job that you don't know when or when will be happening. It's not really feasible. Actually, I am kind of tempted to use one of the black ones. I kind of feel like the silver will look really good on the black. What do we reckon? Which box shall we go with? Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that, Hetty. I know zoos have been, and like animal farms have been saying they're going to be struggling after lockdown. I don't know what box to use. I'm gonna work on. I can't work on the rest of my sidebar till I've made a decision. Really, I don't know what to use. I'm just gonna go with this box, I think. Yeah, that's a great idea. Try and get another zoo internship. Because that's what you want to do, isn't it? Long term, you want to work in zoos. Hopefully, you'll find something really similar, and not much further away and stuff. Because I know that's always the balance. So, see, right, how do people feel about cat flaps? Right, the house we are buying, the house we are buying is like I was really confused by what was on the back of that. Where are my glitter headers? I've lost my glitter headers. I suspect they're actually in this part. Yes, they are. The house we're buying is like a hedge away from a properly main road, like a proper, like I say a properly main road in a small town, as much as you can call that a main road. So I'm a bit wary of having a cat flap because I'm a bit like, oh, but what if our cat gets injured or something? And that would be really, really hard. And I would be so sad on the road because we're obviously going to go cat, like that's a question. So I'm a bit scared of having a cat flap in case they got injured, but also at the same time, me and my partner both are doctors, so we work a lot. Luckily, for the first 6 months, I'm going to be working a ridiculous amount. I haven't had a rota yet, but I've had an indication of like my bonus out of hours pay, and that gives an indication that my rota is going to be terrible. Yeah, like I don't mind having an indoor cat, but like if it depends what. Basically, we already have the limitation that Soshin is allergic to cats. He's not allergic to all cats. He's fine with some cats. He's not with others. So it's finding a cat that he's not super allergic to, so that we can, have them, as well as getting one that like cats. as well as one that other people might not take, because we don't really have a preference in type of cat, and we would rather just have a cat that other people wouldn't necessarily take. So the cats my parents got, they are rescues, and they were very, very nervous and very, very scared when we first got them. So they other people weren't going to get, it's like they saw some kittens they absolutely adored when they got them, but they what am I trying to say? So they needed a lot of time and energy to make them sort of settle in, which my parents had the time and energy to do. And the Cats Protection were really glad they got Jack and Jess, because they were a bit worried that they were never going to get picked. So we would want to pick cats like that other people might not pick, basically, to ensure that, you know, all the cats get a home. Yeah, so there is fence all around the garden, isn't there? There's fence all around the garden, and a wall on one side, between the road and us. But if there's also like a bit of a front garden, and if you go out the front, like we're on a, what are they called? Cul-de-sac. And we're right at the end of a cul-de-sac, so no cars will come out like the front of our house. But you can also cut through. There's a green on the estate that it's on. So yeah, basically, I don't necessarily want an indoor cat. I don't necessarily want an outdoor cat. I want a cat that's not going to get rescued if we don't rescue them. And I'm not like, yes, the main road across the hedge is a main road, but it's also a main road in a small market town. We're not talking about like a main road. We're talking about a main road in a town of 9,000 people. So yeah, but it's something we need to decide probably when we've lived there a little bit, because we will get cats quite quickly, I expect, but not like immediately. Is that fair?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yes.
Yes.
The other person that is living there, buying the house with me. So that is the basis of the hit town, and that seems to have taken forever. I feel like I've just like blabbered on. But that's the basis down. So I am on night shifts at work this week. So I am working Monday to Thursday night. So night shifts here start at 10 p.m. and go through till 9 a.m. And obviously it does just depend on exactly where you are and what job you're in. But that's sort of how things work. And then after this week of nights, I'm off work for a week, which is going to be great. I'm excited for that. It also sort of depends what pets our neighbours have, if they have any, etc., etc. Because obviously if there are dogs in the next garden, that's something to take into account, because our cat will be new and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I mean, cats are quite savvy. Cats are quite clever. They know what a car is. They know not to run in front of a car. They're not like... There's a lot of wild cats. I think, yeah, it just depends what we get, what sort of cats we get. And as I say, the main thing for us is going to be that Socian isn't super allergic to them, because that would make life much harder. So, like, this looks like really short times at work, because obviously the times, like the main 5 hours, there's 5 hours that you can't see of, ow, sorry. This, like, the camera seems way closer to my head than it normally is, and I just full on whacked my head on it. That was clever. One more day to go. So yeah, we'll work that out. That's like a future problem, but it will be something that we need to think about at some point. So that is my work shifts in, which is not as helpful as it usually is. Next, I'm going to pop down my... What am I going to pop down? What am I going to say? What am I trying to say? Oh, I forgot I had headers for this and this. Oh, well. What a shame. These are the new headers that came out yesterday. They're like dinners, and it should have gone on that glitter header, but I forgot to put it down. But oh well, that's fine. I'll remember about them at some point. So I only had space for 2 habit trackers. So I'm doing one as a no spend and one as Instagram, and I'm going to only tick it off if I post both on Instagram and Instagram stories. I've been terrible on Instagram recently. It's because I find it really hard to sort of be excited about showing my planner on there because of everything else that is going on. Both with, I was already finding it difficult to like want to share planner spreads because of Black Lives Matter, and because I've like, it just seems a bit empty to be sharing planner spreads, or at least it did to me. But at the same time, I absolutely love my planner and I want to share it. And then obviously everything that went on earlier this week has made that me feel even more strange about it. But we'll find a way. We will find a way. So next thing I'm going to mark is doing my yoga and my task as part of my morning routine. So I've got the little things pulled out. Then I've got some other little bits. So I've got the paint swatches and those as well to make this work. So when I'm on night shifts, I do my morning routine before my night shift, generally. So I'm going to pop in like the things for that there, because a lot of my day will be spent sleeping, particularly Tuesday and Wednesday. Well, no, actually Wednesday I have an appointment first thing in the morning, but after that it will be mostly sleeping. So just I like to put in one of these for whatever my morning task is, as well as yoga. Oh, I shouldn't use such a big one because of the sort of yoga sticker I've got. Let's instead pop that there. I'll do. So it seems kind of half and half with you guys, which of you have indoor and which of you have outdoor cats. I've just always had outdoor cats, but where my parents live is far from a road, and they've got a massive garden, and it's quite safe.
I just like the idea of letting cats have their freedom.
Yeah.
They can go outside if they want.
Yeah, me too, but at the same time, I don't want to put their lives at risk because they want to go out.
Also, indoor cats are generally healthier than outdoor cats.
No, they're not.
Oh, I thought...
Because they do less exercise.
That's true.
Also, cats are designed to live outside.
That is true.
At least that's my understanding. Anybody with better knowledge about cats, feel free to correct or say which of us are correct in the comments. Hetty's probably got the most. Yeah, so my current feeling about what I'm going to do with my planner is I'm probably going to use my Flower Power Hourly the first 6 months of it, and then in January move over to something else. But I just, yeah, Loki definitely isn't healthier if she was an outdoor cat. Loki would be very unhealthy if she was an outdoor cat. That is very true. Yeah, I mean, I was really happy with my planner, and this week's events are just, but yeah. I think Becca missed the beginning when I was like, ugh, I don't know what to do. Because I really don't know what to do about the whole situation. I'm very upset about it. But we will see. We will see. Oh, that definitely was not in the right place. I'm glad you finished setting up your planner. I'm excited to move into it because I want a proper hourly. Cats get stuck used to stuff very easily. Yeah, indoor cats, you've got to watch out for obesity, says the person. Yeah, I just don't know what I'm going to do come January. I know what I'm doing for the next 6 months, and it sort of depends where I get to with my... If you read my post on either Instagram, if you read the full post on either Instagram or my Facebook group that I posted yesterday, one of the things that I have been sort of starting to look at and starting to try and do is to create my own planners. And so it depends sort of how I get on with that and how life goes, because life is going to be busy for the next 6 months. Let's be real. Hey! That was really random, sorry. I just saw Anna saying hello. So, because I'm going to be on a much busier job than I am now, I'm going to have a lot less free time in terms of that. But also, we're probably going to move house in the next 6 months, so that's going to take time and energy and effort away from other things. So my hope is that by January, I will have created the planners that I have started to work on, and that I can move into one of the, or two of those come January. But I just got to take things one step at a time because I want them to be perfect. I don't want to rush them because of this. So it's not, well, it is a new job, but it's not at the same time. So all junior doctors work on rotation. So you rotate around at different jobs. And then there are different like training pathways that you then move on to and stuff like that. So I'm just coming in August. I will come to the end of the first 2 years after I graduated. So they're called your foundation years. So once you graduate from med school, you go into your foundation years. And then after that, you can either do what my boyfriend's doing this year, which is called locuming. So basically, you just pick up shifts where you want to need them. And just sort of do random bits and pieces of different jobs. And so basically, sort of like supply teaching is probably the best way to describe it in a way that people tend to understand. But also you can get sort of more permanent roles. So he's actually on a contract, but locuming. So he has a contract to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. But he can leave that contract at any time and he can have a day off whenever he likes, sort of thing.
They even asked me yesterday if I wanted to extend my contract.
Yeah. So he could have extended his contract, but he's also got a training post from August. And then after those 2 years in August, you make that decision whether you want to move onto a training pathway or you want to move on to locuming. I decided to move onto a training program because I know what I want to do longer term. So it just made sense, and it seemed silly to spend a year basically not furthering my career, just for having a bit more free time. So I made the decision to go straight into a training program. So I am starting what is called acute coronary, acute, I can't remember what it stands for. It's called ACCS. I'm just going to say what I'm going to do next, and then I will carry on explaining about things. How's that? Hello.
Enchilada recipe.
Yeah. Give me 2 seconds, guys.
I'm sorry, but this is very important. Otherwise you'll get tea.
Sorry, I'm back. So I'm going to pop down my hair washing and my videos. We are having an extra video on Wednesday about the EC situation. And wash hair days are When are wash hair days? Today is a wash hair day, so Tuesday and Friday. So I'm going to put those down, and then I will carry on describing what I mean. So yeah, at the end of those 2 years, you make a decision as to whether you want to go into a training post or locum. And for training posts, basically you have the option of any sort of I can't use that one there. Any sort of medicine that you want to go into. So if you want to do a medical specialty, which are things like cardiology, gastroenterology, elderly medicine, anything like that, basically, you start what's called core medical training. If you want to go into a surgical specialty, so things like upper GI surgery, urology, things like that, you start core surgical training. And then other things have their own training pathways. So, for example, anaesthetics has its own, ITU have their own training, emergency medicine have their own training, pediatrics has their own training. So you apply for a training program. So that happens throughout the year. And so I've been applying for that job, and I've had the interviews for that this year. So the training pathway I am going into is for doing acute medicine. And to go into acute medicine, you can do two things. You can do core medical training, or you can do ACCS. So ACCS stands for Acute Care Common STEM. So it's actually a pathway that is used both for that you can. So it's the only pathway for emergency medicine. It's one of the pathways for anaesthetics, and it's one of the pathways for acute medicine. And each acute medicine, anaesthetics, and emergency medicine, ACCS, all have slightly different applications, and you apply to the college that it's under. So like I've applied via the Royal College of Physicians, and I may have got a core medical training job, or I may have got the ACCS job, but I got an ACCS job in the end. So I'm doing that, and then like there's other things like there's GP training and things like that. So that's the sort of, and the first bit is your what's called an SHO generally, for the first however many years. So however many years this bit that you've applied for is, or some of them. So GP training is the shortest training and is 3 years, and then you are a fully qualified GP, and that's what my boyfriend is doing. He is starting GP training. I, however, will do this job, which is 4 years. I think basically they've changed it in the last year, and it should now be 4 years, but still when I applied it says 3 years, so I'm all a bit confused about that. I need to decide what I'm doing next with this spread. I think the problem is, because I'm going to be sleeping during the day, I think I probably need to pop that in next. And I'm going to just pop in my sleep using a full box. So I'm going to, except I might not on certain days, like I might, So Monday, I think Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Monday, I don't know what to do. Okay, I'm going to do the day by day and then go back into it. Let's do that. So Monday, what I'll do on Sunday night is basically I'll stay up as late as humanly possible, preferably till about 4 a.m, and then sleep for as long as I can. And then I'll wake up, do my morning routine, and then do any other little bits, and maybe try and have a nap or not, depending. So that's what we're working with, and I'm just going to pop down stickers and stuff, and then I'll talk about what I've done in a bit when I've finished explaining medical training. So once you've done your first couple of years post so after you've done your foundation years, which is what I'm just coming up to the end of, I am going into ACCS training. So ACCS training can be 3 or 4 years. This is what I was saying. It used to be 3 years, but then because you can go into any medical specialty having finished it, they decided that you actually needed to have done some general medicine jobs, not just the ACCS jobs. So they added an extra year onto it. But my job offer says 3 years, so I'm a little bit confused about that. But we'll see. I think it's probably 4 years, and they've just not changed the job offer because all of the other jobs are 3 years. But don't know. So that's that. So you do 6 months of emergency medicine, 6 months of acute medicine, 6 months of anaesthetics, 6 months of intensive care, and then a year of whichever your specialty is. So for me, it would be a year of acute medicine. And then for ACCS acute med, you also do a year of medical specialties, which you don't do in the other roles, if that makes any sense. So after you've done that, you then apply for registrar training, and that is the point at which, if you're in a core specialty, so you've done core surgical or core medical training, essentially, you apply for the specialty you want to do specifically. And that's about it. And then once you finish registrar training, you apply for consultant jobs. It's all a bit confusing if you're not in the system, but once you're like in the system and you are used to it, it's actually dead simple. It's just a bit weird to describe it. So that is my little rant about how medicine training works. It's confusing, but not when you're used to it. And if you've got any questions, just drop them down below and I will be happy to answer them. So anyway, my point is I am moving on to a different training pathway rather than my foundation years. So I'm moving to emergency medicine, and the rotas for emergency medicine are generally rubbish because it has to be staffed the same levels all the time, unlike lots of wards which can be staffed differently in the night and things because they are less busy. Oh, Wednesday's payday, is it? No. Why have I got a... so on Wednesday we have a meeting with a mortgage advisor, where hopefully we will start the well, no, it's basically to apply for a mortgage, because my boyfriend is locuming and because most mortgage advisors are currently working on mortgage holidays rather than mortgage applications. It's been a bit more complicated to get a mortgage than it should have really been for us, but that's fine. I have a laptop sticker on Wednesday and I just have absolutely no idea what it's for. I've pulled it out and I remember pulling it out last night and being like, oh, I'll remember what that's for. I've forgotten. So what drew me to emergency medicine? So I'm going to work on acute medicine, which is sort of a step further. My first job is emergency medicine, but the career I want is acute medicine. And what drew me to that is, and to be fair, it's partly the same reasons that I love emergency medicine as well. I really like working with acutely unwell patients. So people, everybody in hospital is poorly, but people are poorly in different ways, if that makes any sense. So some people are sort of a bit more chronically poorly and just are in hospital for support. Others are really, really ill, and others are having surgeries, etc. I wanted to work with people that are unwell, but also I like a high turnover of patients, and I like a high sort of a bang, bang, bang sort of world job, where you find the diagnosis and then you sort it, and then you either get them out of hospital or you move them to somewhere where they have a bit longer term support. However, what took me, so that sort of left me with thinking about either acute medicine or emergency medicine. The problem I have with emergency medicine is it's quite a lonely job. You aren't in a team in the same way as that you are in a team with other jobs. You have the team, yes, and you can talk to people day to day. So it's not like GP where you spend a lot of the day on your own in a room. But at the same time, you're also not working as part of a team. It's quite a lone work, whereas acute medicine is very similar in that you have the variety of patients and the high turnover of patients, but you also are part of a team. And also you have to deal less with surgeons. Let's be real. So in emergency medicine, you regularly have to refer to the surgeons. And I'm not going to lie, surgeons are a bit notorious about trying to refuse patients. It's a bad stereotype, but there is some truth to the stereotype. That's how I'm going to phrase it. And I find that really frustrating. So I don't really want to be in a job where forever that I have to be dealing with surgeons forever for, basically. So I sort of made the decision to do something slightly different. So I still have that acute medicine, the change in patients, the part of a team, etc. But I also have slightly longer than, so patients are meant to leave ED within 4 hours of getting there, whether that's to a ward or home. So whereas acute medicine is a ward, and people tend to be there for a little bit longer. So usually sort of the 24-hour, 48-hour wards. You all right?
Yep. I lost the pin.
So you've got a little bit more continuity of care than you do with 4 hours and then never see what happens with the patient like you do in ED. So that's kind of my reasoning. But I mean, the beautiful thing about ACCS is that, like, I've always known I wasn't a surgeon. I've always known that wasn't me. And the joy of ACCS is that it gives me the opportunity to go into any medical specialty at the end of it. So although I'm saying now that I'm 90% sure that long term I want to do acute medicine, I still have the ability to be able to change my mind and do any medical specialty after the next few years. What drew my boyfriend to being a GP? Funny story. So Beth, the ward you were on with your gallstones will have been the surgical equivalent. It will have been a surgical admissions ward. So acute medicine is like the medical admissions unit, whereas gallstones is a surgical problem, so it goes under surgery. What drew my boyfriend to GP? Funny story, this. Basically, he actually this year applied to radiology and anaesthetics because he thought that was what he wanted to do. Over the year and during the application process, he actually realised that although they were things that would suit him, he didn't actually want to do them. He was not sure about, with anaesthetics, the hours and the sort of high stress as a senior. So some jobs are stressful as a junior and get less stressful the more senior you get. Some jobs say get more stressful because of how they work. He decided he didn't really want to do radiology because he would miss the patient contact. And whilst you can be a clinical radiologist and you can do things like scans and ultrasounds and ultrasound guided biopsies, etc., he would really miss the patient contact. So he made the decision that so GP has what's called a second round of applications. So in medicine, pretty much everyone applies and starts jobs and changes jobs around the same time. However, with certain specialties, so GP is one of those, not anaesthetics, medicine is one of those, they don't fill all of the places in the first round of applications. So they do either a second round or a round one re-advert, depending how they phrase it. They're basically the same. They just are phrased differently. So he applied in round one re-advert to GP training and got a job in York, which is ideal because my first job is in Hull, but my training pathway is very unspecific about where my jobs are actually going to be because it's Yorkshire and the Humber, North and the East Coast. So it sort of, and Northern Lincolnshire. So it covers Hull, York, Scarborough, Grimsby, Scunthorpe. Any others?
Cool.
Yeah. It covers a huge area, but Pocklington is actually really central in that area where we're buying our house. How easy is it to change specialties? Not easy. It's not hard. You just have to justify why you're doing it, and you may have to take a significant pay cut to do it. That was one of the problems with I don't know how much attention you guys paid or whether, like, you will have been at uni-ish too, but the whole junior doctor contract changed a couple of years ago. One of a lot of people's issues with it is it meant that if you changed specialty, you absolutely had to take a pay cut. There was no way around that. And that was a lot of people's problem because it means that if you get into a specialty that isn't suited to you, you either have to stick to it, which is really bad for morale, or take a pay cut, which obviously you might have financial implications of that. There will be financial implications of that, so it's much harder. But basically, you just have to justify when you're doing it, and it depends what you're going from and to. So, for example, it's much easier to go from anything into medicine because medicine is undersubscribed. But you would also have to sort of take a step back and you'd have to go back to the level that we're applying at generally. You might be able to, like, skip a couple of years. So there was somebody at my interview that was going from anaesthetics to... so basically, it'll take you longer to be a consultant. You'll take a pay cut, but it is doable, particularly if you're going to something less competitive. So if you're moving to GP medicine... They're the main two, aren't they? What else is undersubscribed? Psychiatry.
Peds in the first few years.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're moving to certain things, it's easier. But if you're wanting to go into something competitive, so if you're wanting to go into anesthetics or radiology, it's going to be harder because they're going to be like, why didn't you do this straight away if you knew it was what you wanted to do? Because they want people that know what they're going to do. But at the same time, they also want you to have like 10 years experience at this stage of your career. It's ridiculous. Yeah. What's the most subscribed? Let me pull up some competition ratios. And I may well be able to tell you.
At our level, probably sexual health.
Specialty training competition ratios. Yeah, possibly. Things get more competitive, and I feel like it's something really random. So it's not loading, obviously. To be fair, my internet is probably not happy. I now need to pop in my full boxes and stuff, so I'm just going to do that. Why is it not working? Where is my full box sheet? I lost my full box sheet. There. It's there. It's loading. It's just unhappy. Oh, you're just doing it on my phone's internet rather than our Wi-Fi. Shows how terrible it is. That's ST3.
ST. No, that's ST again.
Yeah, but it's ST1. That is.
Oh, so you can go straight into
Yeah,
it.
you can go straight into. So cardiac thoracic
No.
surgery. Oh no, sexual and reproductive health.
Yep.
Is the most competitive at 11.86 applicants for every job. The least competitive, interestingly though, genitourinary medicine at ST3 level is really uncompetitive, which is slightly different, but is similar.
Similar, yeah.
What's the least competitive? Sorry, they have both this round of applications and the applications, like the reg applications on the table. It's probably psychiatry. Where is psychiatry? 0.99. So there's one person for every application in psychiatry. Yeah, that looks like the smallest number. This was this year. These what numbers are. I know there's an 0.96. That's CAMS at ST4 level is really uncompetitive. But yeah, that's about it. So, full boxes. That's what I'm going to do. Can I see the chat again, please, sweetie? Why do I think it's the most competitive? Because there's not very much risk in it. Most medical jobs, you are going to have patients that die, and there's not a lot you can do about that. If you're doing sexual health, it's highly unlikely your patients are going to die.
Except for HIV.
Well, yeah, but even then,
that goes under infectious diseases.
Well, no, HIV is like the death rate from HIV now is essentially nothing.
Yeah. You don't die of HIV nowadays.
Psychiatry is a funny one. So I'm actually only going to put those 2 full boxes in, by the way. Psychiatry has a really bad press within medicine. People don't class it as a proper medicine. So it gets a really, really bad rep, which I think is rubbish. It's also... So ward work is much, much, much slower. So I work on like a busy psychiatry ward, and I was on my own at work yesterday and I still didn't have enough work to do. There's actually 3 doctors on my ward. When all 3 of us are in, it's a bit of a joke because there's just not enough work for the 3 of us. But then you have days where it's also super busy. I work on a psychiatry admissions ward at the minute. So it's really variable. And so psychiatry has a really bad rep for being really slow, really like slow turnover of patients. Lots of people, a lot of it's symptom management rather than getting people actually well, fixed. And what else? Yeah, psychiatry can definitely be scary at times. So it's also very heavily consultant led because of the risk. So a lot of psychiatry is managing risk of both patients and harm to themselves and to others. So a lot of those decisions are consultant led rather than junior led, whereas in most other jobs, that's not quite true. The other reason I think it probably gets a bad rep is that people don't consider it sort of real medicine, because a lot of it is more talking than like clinical intervention. And it is really sad it has a bad rep within medicine. It's actually, I love it. If I didn't need more action in my life, I would consider doing it, because it is actually like a great job for a lot of reasons. Unfortunately, like I require to be busy constantly, and that just doesn't really work for me. In terms of psychiatry being scary, so there's, because we're in an admissions ward, we have a high turnover of patients, and our consultant is really, really good. I don't know how much, like, lots of people know quite a lot about depression, anxiety, and they know little bits about schizophrenia and bipolar, but people generally don't know very much about sort of personality disorders. And I would say 80% of our patients, particularly 80% of our patients who are admitted with suicidal ideation, have personality disorders rather than depression or anxiety. And the problem with personality disorder patients is that their reaction to stress generally is that they find it really difficult to deal with stress. And when they have a stressful situation, their response is to want to end their lives. So that's not quite a fair sentence, because I'm sort of lumping all personality disorders into one bracket, and not all personality disorders are the same. So they are always going to have a lot of risk. But for a lot of them, although they genuinely do feel suicidal and they genuinely do feel like they don't want to be alive, actually their suicide attempts are more a cry for help than an actual suicide attempt. And that's not 100% always true. And the problem with them is, with people with personality disorders, and the reason they're really difficult to manage is because their only treatment really that works for them is long-term counselling in the form of DBT. And these people are always going to have risk until they've sort of had that. But DBT won't take them until they're sort of not in and out of hospital. So actually, hospital can't do a lot to help them, but they're always going to be a significant risk to themselves because of their reaction to stress. So, yes, psychiatry is scary because we discharge people who are sitting there saying, if I go home, I'm going to kill myself. And that's really hard and really scary. Until, like, the first time you see it, you're like, oh my God, are you serious? They've just said, I'm going to go home and I'm going to kill myself, and you've just let them go home, because these are usually consultant-led decisions. So the first time you see it, you're like, what? But then they come back in and you're like, oh, okay. So it's a bit of a strange one. Yeah, they're 100% trapped in a cycle. DBT is, I think it's detectable. I can't say the word. Dialectical behavioral therapy. It's a sort of CBT. So CBT stands for cognitive behavioral therapy, but DBT is like a wider variety of that, essentially. So, and it is much longer than most. So most CBT is 16 weeks. Most DBT is more like a year, 6 months to a year. And there's a lot more group, and you generally have a group session and a personal session every week. Yeah, DBT is less well known, but it is the best treatment for personality disorders and personality disorder patients. So, yeah. And yeah, particularly, like, to be fair, my consultant is really, really good at it. He's really good at talking to personality disorder. Where's this sticker go? Talking to personality disorder patients and finding them ways of coping and giving them coping strategies, and making sure they're making plans for the future when they are discharged. And it's horrible because most of these patients react to stress in that way because they've had really traumatic childhoods. So a lot of them have had abuse, physical or sexual abuse as children, and that's sort of why they don't really know how to deal with the stressful situations that others sort of learn to deal with. It's a hard diagnosis to treat. And it's also quite hard to diagnose because personality disorders are basically an expansion of a normal personality. So most people will have some sort of traits of personality disorder because traits of a personality disorder are sort of normal personality. And then high tech. It's when it becomes an unsuitable coping mechanism that it gets much harder to cope with. I find personality disorders really, really interesting, partly because of sort of the trauma aspect, partly because of the sort of difficulty treating them and getting them well. Yeah. I'm now going to actually write everything in. I've managed to like just talk about medicine this entire live stream, which is interesting. And I'm always happy to answer questions about medicine. I love my job. It can be stressful and rubbish at times, but generally I love my job. To learn more about personality disorders, I mean, Mind have really good resources, and Mind actually usually do an emotional regulation session. At least they do in Hull. I don't know where you are, Hetty, but Mind do emotional regulation work that people with personality disorders generally find really helpful. Mind information is generally right on point. So they're always a good resource. I'm just going to quickly go over my plans while I'm writing them in. So on Monday, before our mortgage appointment on Wednesday, I want to sort out some money because I want to pay my loan back to my parents before Wednesday. So I'm going to pay them back in full for the remainder of the loan I've got to them before that, so I can say I've done that during the mortgage appointment. Mondays and Thursdays are fast days. I've got my videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I want to do my YouTube comments on Monday. A lot of the days are going to be sleeping, and then Tuesday, I'm probably gonna have D&D with my friends. Wednesday, I've got my mortgage appointment, which will be probably quite long. Any other specific bits and pieces? Friday's payday. I would need to get things ready for exclusive foil, which is coming. That's getting ready for exclusive foil, and that's for exclusive foil. Need to film my budget plan with me and my pre-plan with me, which will be my first plan with me in my hourly. And then that is for trying to de-stash editing. Yeah, that's about it. They're all my plans, so I'm gonna write things in. Yeah, Mind's information is super accurate. And we genuinely give out Mind booklets to patients. And generally with personality disorder patients, they've been sort of misdiagnosed a few times. And actually when they read about personality disorders, they are like, oh my God, this is 100% me. And yeah, they might not want to accept it at first because it's a bit of a crap diagnosis in terms of it's a medication probably won't help you, but it can help a bit. But the thing you need is long-term therapy, which takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it's really tricky. So we had a patient who had been misdiagnosed as bipolar, and during her review, my consultant explained to her that he thought she had a emotionally unstable personality disorder. So borderline personality disorder is a type of emotionally unstable personality disorder, so it's like on the borderline between, yeah, anyway. And she stormed out the room saying she was really upset and that she didn't want to listen, and she'd been like, she just wanted to know what was wrong with her. And she was given a booklet and reviewed again the next day. And during the review the next day, she was like, this is just me to a T. Like, it's like somebody wrote about me in a booklet. So yeah, it is. Yeah, it's challenging. Ooh, I'm glad your sister's found a house she wants. Is it in the same town? I know she was looking like locally. She just wanted to move somewhere a bit bigger. Hopefully the people that viewed her house will like it. We viewed 5 houses.
Something like that.
I mean, we were quite quick with our decisions, but I think basically we just sort of fell in love with the house we were buying after we saw it. Hi, Jack. I know. You going to say hello to people, or are you just going to meow at us?
Would you like your refried beans separately or inside the enchilada?
Don't mind. Not the... Oh, well done for repairing it. What was the metal thing in your doorway? I'm a bit intrigued by that. I love that people are still like getting things done, and there's been a bit of a boom in the housing market now. People are allowed to buy houses again, but there's also a prediction that it might drop, and a lot of them might not go through with one thing and another. But I mean, progress is still progress. Sorry, I'm failing to write and talk at the same time. don't remember what Friday's video is. Oh, it's probably my July setup. Oh, I know what you mean, like the thing that holds the carpet down between the rooms. I don't know what they're called either. What are they called?
Mm.
You know, the metal bit between the two rooms?
Yeah. Carpet stay sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, you've come onto my chair. Are you going to come onto the desk? What do you think? You going to say hello to people? Or are you just going to stand there? Or are you just going to knock the camera? What do you think, Jackie? Oh, we had a paw on the desk. Then he moved. Ooh. Oh, I'm excited for her, Beth. I hope they find someone to buy their house. Fingers crossed. Whether I actually destash next weekend is a different question, but we will see. I think that's all the writing done. I think I'm pretty much done. Except, I need to put some foil overlays in, but then I'm done.
Jackie.
What are you doing? There's a sale on Sunday, which I need to make the graphics for because I haven't done it. There is a Father's Day sale on Sunday. It will only be a couple of hours / the day. It's not going to be a very long sale. It's like a flash sale. But yeah, there is a sale tomorrow. So I've just got some overlays, and then I think I'm pretty much done with this plan with me. There's a sale tomorrow. That went on really wonkily. Well, it's fine. Jack is now like being cuddled like a baby in Soshan's arms, which is pretty cute. So yeah, new releases went up yesterday, and there is a flash sale on Sunday, so good time to pick them up if you fancy some new releases. There we go. I think that is us pretty much done. Let's find what's left in the kit. There's like a million sticker sheets around me as usual. Beth's kits are 7 pages, which are huge. So here is what, that's not kit. Here's what is left. I barely used any flags this week. I think being on nights has just sort of thrown me. And in fact, my next week's plan with me is going to be even more confusing because it's going to be my first week in my new planner, and also come on then, come say hello properly. What do you think? Yes, hello Jackie. Yes, that's who you're saying hello to.
Did you give everyone face rubs?
Yeah,
Is that
clever
what happened?
Jackie. I've forgotten what sentence I was in the middle of. I was saying something next week, as in the plan with me that I will film next week, this plan with me is going to be in my new planner, and I'm having the week after this week off work, so it's going to be like timed planning in a week off work, which is always harder anyway because there's less firm plans. That's what I'm trying to say. So that is the pre-planning all done. Yes, you full on said hello to everyone. I don't know whether you can hear him purring, but he's like purring away happily. Yeah, everyone loves you. You're a big cutie pants. Anyway, I will stop talking to Jack. He's now head rubbing the microphone, which is probably not great for you guys. I think that's all, really. Thank you for joining me. It's been nice. It's been a bit weird just talking about my job the entire time and not really about what I'm doing or the spread. But yeah, and this is the last week in this planner. How strange. And if you want to see how bulky this got, that is an 18-month coil, which we have now established we think are the same. So it got pretty bulky. That's a sneak peek of tomorrow's plan with me. So yeah, thank you all for joining me. It's been lovely chatting with you, and I am still going to be, I think July we will still be having every other week plan with me, so we will be back on the 4th of July. I think that's right. Yeah, because I'm definitely not working that weekend. Back on the 4th of July to plan in my new planner. So I hope to see you then. Thanks for joining, everyone. Bye. Let's not have such a wonky planner when the stream ends.